Hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. CQ, the Old Friends Net. Time for the Tuesday edition of the Old Friends Get Together. And the Old Friends Net meets 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m., Sundays at 4 p.m., always on the same frequency, 3715 plus or minus vintage gear. Old Friends Net is an amplitude modulated only net. And while we're centered on vintage gear restoration and operation, anybody that can generate an AM signal is welcome to join. This is also a net carried out in the old-fashioned round table style, and I'll take check-ins a couple times throughout the net to get people's seat at the table. And it's a great place to sell something you might want to get rid of, or if you're looking to buy, ask around here. Somebody's probably got one, they'll sell you. So for those that wish to participate, please give W4MEC a call. Come now.
Good morning, Mr. Charlie, WA4LLR.
N4LQ.
KZ4 Bravo.
WB4NKL.
K3OS.
WB4ARK.
DRN. Okay, we'll start with you fellas, see who else wakes up. So far we've got Dave, WA4LLR, Steve, N4LQ, John, KZ4B, Cliff, WB4NKL, Gary, K3OS, Buddy, WB4ARK, and Greg, KF4DRN. Who else for round number 1? Nothing heard. And so far the order this morning is LLR and then LQ and 4 Bravo, NKL, OS, ARK, and DRN. All right, fellas, good morning. Got about 33 degrees here. It's nice and clear. And so far a nice day out. I kind of predicted it was supposed to be a wet and warmer winter. Well, so far it's been a dry winter, and it has had some warm days, I'll say that for it, but it hasn't been much wet here, so let's see if the 2026 half of the winter is going to be any wetter. So I haven't filled my pond in a while, and it's pretty darn low. I got to get out there and work on the bank a little bit and cut down some old vegetation and all that, and then get her filling again here. The stream is really low down there too. It's not quite a trickle, but it's about the lowest I've seen it in a long time. So, but I think I'll be able to get enough water out of it to fill the pond. So let's see. Let's start and see what's going on. Take it away, Dave. WA4LLR. W4MEC.
All right, fine business, W4MEC. And the old friends, WA4LLR. Good morning to everybody. Good signals so far. We've got 32 degrees and clear. Hopefully going up to about 60, 61 today, they think. So we'll see. And we have the same situation here, Charlie. It's we really need some rain. It's been extremely dry. We've had some forest fires, and it's time for some dampness to come along for sure. They say hopefully we'll get some this weekend, but we'll see. Anyhow, running the Harvey Wells this morning, the TBS 50D with the SB220 and the Drake 2A. So let's go to Shelby. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR's N4LQ. Well, old Harvey's sounding good this morning. And I'm sure the 2A is doing all right too. Well, it's 40 degrees on one thermometer and 44 on the other. Depends on which one you like the best, I guess. And it's supposed to get up to 63. Tomorrow it's supposed to get up to 70. And that's okay with me. I'm seeing 60s till the weekend, or through the weekend. And this rain, it started out being a little more, and it's just like all these other rains they predict in the future. They always seem to taper off down to nothing. So it's down to 0.18 Friday and Saturday, and that's not much. I mean, every little bit helps, but it's been a really dry winter, and the fall wasn't much. We had maybe one good rain. I'm on the 32 V3 and the 75 A4 this morning, and looking forward to hearing what everybody else is running and what new projects or anything you've been working on or having trouble with. So, John, how's things over in Mooresville, and how's the noise treating you? KZ4B, N4LQ.
Very good there, Steve. N4LQ in the group KZ4B. The noise is absolutely doing great. I checked this morning and it was between S5 and S6. It can get as low as S5 or a little lower. So I'm just delighted. The ferrites on my next door neighbor are still doing the trick, and no new aggravations have crept in, and which is a good thing. My buddy Mike Cumbo, ND4S, who lives in Archdale, has a lot of construction around his house, and it's really giving him. He's got 10 over 9, and they're weird sounds. It's kind of hard to evaluate. So he's trying to track that down. So let's see here, Cliff. And by the way, conditions are great. And Steve, your antennas are up so high you're running a kilowatt with 100 watts every time, and sounds great. So take it away, Cliff. WB4NKL on the group KZ. Oh, I'm running the T150 and the AL82. Over to Cliff. Over.
Okay, John, KZ4B, it's WB4NKL, running the Globe King 500 and the Collins 75S3 receiver. Normal situation. I've got to get some of these other rigs on the air. But this is easy. It's here at a comfortable chair and all that. So I need some of them roll-around stations. I guess we've got two Harvey Wells on here. I think Greg's running his and Dave's running his. So I guess the Harvey's is leading the pack here today as far as number, maybe. And same situation here on the weather. It's been pretty dry. I got 32 degrees this morning, and good old Limestone Creek runs by the house down here and at the foot of the hill, and it's probably about half what normal is. You can, but it's, because of all this dry weather, it's extremely clear. You can see the bottom everywhere. If there's any fish running around, you can see them too. But I'd like to see a little more rain. Never have seen. I don't think I've ever seen the creek that low. So I'll send it on to Gary, K3OS, WB4NKL.
All right, Cliff, morning. WB4NKL, K3OS. Morning, guys. I can tell you that it is very foggy here this morning. I've got probably, let's see, looking out here, maybe about 300-400 feet visibility, and then everything goes away. A little heavier earlier this morning, but picking up a little bit. It's about 40 degrees here, so a little bit nicer than, I guess, some of the other parts. Kind of fog is making it really, really dark here for sure. So I will, why is my reflected power changing here? You wouldn't think it would, but it does. I understand why. Never mind. Just looking at meters here. Things are a little wet. My SWR changes on the antenna. Copying everybody good. I'm running the Gonset Twins as usual this morning. Running about 40 watts out to the antenna. Had an interesting experience yesterday that I'll share with you. After acquiring a used F-150 last week, I ended up selling a car to Carvana. And yesterday was the pickup day, because I didn't want to drive it all the way down to Charlotte. And so I meet the driver at the boat ramp near me here, because my street is too narrow to get to turn around anything bigger than a UPS truck. And the truck pulls into the Carvana truck pulls into the parking lot, and lo and behold, a young lady walks out. She's driving this truck that hauls 2 cars. Took a look at my car, did all the inspection necessary, handed me a check, loaded the car up on the truck. I happened to ask her, one of the interesting things about this, I asked her, I said, so do you have a CDL, to drive that rig? She says, no, you don't need one. So somewhere along the line, the guys at Carvana have figured out how to skirt the law and make the truck such a size and such a capacity that you don't need a CDL to drive it. So it was a very pleasant experience, and got the check when she looked at the car, and that was it. So there's my my kind of happy story. So anyway, over to Buddy. Not radio related, but interesting. WB4ARK K3OS.
K3OS WB4ARK. Well, that's a very good story. Yeah, lady driver and no CDL. That's pretty good. My son has a CDL, which he got many years ago when he was working for some companies, and he still maintains it. Well, we've got pretty heavily overcast here. Almost looks like it wants to go into fog, but not quite. And the temperature is 46 degrees. And so it looks like it could want to mist a little bit out there, but it's not quite there yet. So anyhow, we're running the ART13 crystal control type using the VFO actually. And so that's the story there. We've been working on grounding our track circuits at Duncan's house, trying to get a system set up where we won't have as many lightning discharges to the area, or if we do, it will take it directly to ground instead of knocking out some of the LED lights that we have. We don't have that many, but I guess we have more than we have incandescents, so that becomes a problem. So with that, we'll turn it over to a weak signal from KF4DRN. This is WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, KF4DRN. Good morning, everyone. 41 degrees here right now, I think. I'm running the Harvey Wales, just straight 25 watts, and I see you're running yours, and you're driving an amp with yours, and I was just wondering, Dave, when it comes around to you, do you have a attenuator between the Harvey and the amp? Of course, you've got a different kind of amp than what I've got. I've got the Meritron AL811H, but I don't want to kick it too hard, 25 watts, I think it's too much. But I just wonder in your situation when it comes around to you there, Dave. Be interesting to know, and maybe you can share a little bit of that information with me there. I'll send it on around, and here comes back, Charlie. W4MEC, KF4DRN.
Okay, Greg, very good. KF4DRN and the group, W4MEC. Do we have any others that would like to join us? Give me a call.
KG4IUQ.
Okay, we got Mark, KG4IUQ. Any others? The tick, tick, tick of the electric fence. Go ahead, Mark. You'll come after Greg on the next go-around, KF4DRN. Go ahead and make a transmission, Mark, and turn it back to me, KG4IUQ, W4MEC.
This is Mark, KG4IUQ. I've been working with my Drake 2B, having a good time with it. Working on it, trying to figure out a problem or two. It's foggy here, very foggy. Things are looking good. Most of the signals are good. Cliff, NKL, you're about 30 over. Gary, K3OS, you're about 20 over. Sounding good with the Gonset Twins and Buddy, ARK. You're about, I didn't take a reading on that one, but you're sounding good here. And Greg, KF4DRN with the Harvey Wells, good copy with your 25 watts. I'll turn it over now to W4MEC. This is KG4IUQ.
Okay, Mark, very good. One more check here. Any further check-ins? All righty, this is W4MEC and the old Friends Net. Real good, fellas. Good round, good signals on this end this morning. Band's quiet as a church. Let's see, what else here? I had to have a chuckle there when you said she didn't have a CDL. That reminded, and they got around it some way at Carvana, but it reminded me of an old TV show. I guess, I don't know if they still make it, King of the Hill, about a animated series about Texas. And the main character is a manager of a propane gas company, and all their drivers go on strike, so they don't know what to do. They can't deliver the propane, and then it dawns on them, well, all we got to do is use a wrecker. So they hook the propane truck to the wrecker, and the management drives the trucks around because you don't need a hazmat license if you're driving the wrecker to pull a propane truck around. So they made the deliveries. At least that was the take in the TV show. So maybe they figured something out there on that. Maybe it's a number of cars on a trailer like that. If you only have two, I've seen them coming up the interstate there with these trailers that'll hold like 4 to 6, but they're pulled like by a dually Ford or Chevrolet pickup truck. And all I can say is they must have a monster motor in whatever truck they pick, because they all the time pass me going up Saluda grade there, and I'll be taking it easy in my vehicle, maybe doing 60 or something there, but they'll come zipping by me like a scalded dog pulling that trailer with, 25,000 pounds on it, something like that, 10, 12 tons. And they come tearing by me. So anyway, I guess they can buy a new motor every couple of months when they need it. So, all right, let's head around again. Dave, WA4LLR. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm running the Heathkit tribes here. Steve. WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
All righty. W4MEC and the group, WA4LLR. Good morning to you, Mark. Sounding good up here. I'm assuming you're on the T150. I could be wrong. Let's see here. Heathkit always sounds good, Charlie. And Steve, the 32V3 sounds good. And John's always up to snuff on the T150. Charlie, Cliff, the creek here is reduced to, I'd call a branch. I mean, there's nowhere on this creek that runs down our side road that I can't step over. It's tiny. It's about as low as I remember seeing it. An interesting story, Gary, about the Carvana. Yeah, I had a hazmat CDL for years when I was in the gas business, and it used to be based on vehicle weight and well, of course, hazmat, you had to have one, but evidently they get around it on single vehicle weight. But I don't know. I don't know if they ever changed it or not. But they were talking for a while about making those folks that drive the gigantic RVs get a CDL, and that's probably a fact because, man, some of those are heavy as a semi and as long. Let's see, buddy. Good deal on the track grounding. And Cliff, I'm curious. Buddy's talking about grounding their tracks there at his son's house to prevent some lightning damage. Does the railroad worry about grounding on their rails? I'm curious about that. And Greg, I don't use an attenuator between the Harvey wells and the amp because I've got the Harvey loaded real light, and I'm only feeding it, I don't know, 10 watts, 10 or 12 watts, something like that. Sometimes just 8 or 10, depending. So no, I'm not using one, and I'm getting, I don't know, 200, maybe a little more out of the SB220. So, I think you said yours is putting out 25 watts or something. I don't know if you can load it light enough to do what you want or not. You may have to use a pad in there. It was, no, I started to say it was foggy here. No, it was foggy yesterday morning here, Mark, but not today. Well, let's see here. Space weather, sunspot count's 91, solar flux index is 154, and the K index is 1.67. So things are fairly calm at the moment. Few items from this day in history. On this day in 1838, Samuel Morse unveiled the telegraph. On this day in 1955, Rowan Atkinson was born. For any of you Mr. Bean fans, that's one crazy guy. On this day in 1412, Joan of Arc was born. On this day in 1799, frontiersman Jedediah Smith was born. Let's see what else. 1912, New Mexico joined the Union. 1919, Theodore Roosevelt died. What else is going on here? Oh, here's a biggie. On this day in 1975, Wheel of Fortune premiered. And on this day in 2001, Congress certified George W. Bush the winner of the 2000 elections. And on this day, the much publicized, on this day in 2021, the much publicized U.S. Capitol riot took place. And boy, that's had some conspiracy theories going for a long time. Anyway, let's go on down to Shelby. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, it's N4LQ. All right, there we go. Everybody's sounding good here. Particularly interested in Gary's Carvana story. I have wondered about that. I've never ventured there, but we had a neighbor bought a car from them, and they just delivered it and dropped it off, and I was there when they delivered it, and I kind of looked it over, and well, it wasn't perfect. I don't know how much. I mean, this thing was ordered. They hadn't even seen it, and just wondered how much detail they go into as far as flaws and little scratches and things like that, how much they tell you ahead of time. And I wondered about when they buy your car, do they care what it looks like? Do they require a lot of photographs and details? I'm sure they check the records on it to see if it's been wrecked. But it's just an interesting thing. I like the idea of not having to sit at a dealership for hours. That's some of the worst time I've ever spent. One time we bought a truck at a Ford dealer, and we were there for 3 hours. Just absolutely wore us out. And they would go talk to the boss, and then they'd come back, and it would take a half an hour every time. And I think they're just trying to wear you down. We had an explosion up here in Cherryville yesterday afternoon, and it turned out to be a textile supply company that's called Tire Cord, and they supply supplies for tire manufacturers and conveyor belts and stuff like that. Well, there's this gigantic diesel fuel storage tank on the side of the building, and it just blew up, and I don't know why, but it shook the whole town. Nobody was hurt. There are reports of a dead dog somewhere in the area there that succumbed to it, but other than that, no big deal. Yeah, Mr. Bean, that's, of course, I watched him on YouTube a lot of times. He drove a three-wheel car. Of course, that's in England, and I don't know what the car was. It had a single front wheel and two on the back, and he had a padlock on the door. Instead of using the key and the lock, he used a big old hasp and a padlock on his door. And when he got done locking it with the padlock, he would take his key and pull the back window open and throw it in the back seat. So, very strange person. So let's see, over to John. KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ and the group KZ4B, fine business, Dave. I'm guessing it might have been a three-wheel Morgan. Peter Sellers had a movie called Party where he drove a three-wheel Morgan, because not many companies made three-wheel trikes. And I've got one here just as a toy that's got a 100cc motor, and you gotta slow down on the corners or it'll flip in a heartbeat. Shifting gears, it's very foggy here, and here lately it's getting more and more foggy as the day wears on, whereas normally it gets less and less. Go figure. And the lake they always pull the lake down in the winter, and it's not that much lower than it ordinarily is in the winter, but it's way down, 3 or 4 feet. Shifting gears again, a project I've been working on is a Globe Chief Deluxe. I call it a Globe Cheap Deluxe because they cut every corner you can imagine. It's got an iron vane meter instead of a de-arsenable. The tuning capacitors were junk. The coil in the tank circuit is made out of T90 wire. So I robbed the tank coil out of a T150 that I'm using. It's heavy duty compared to what's in there. But the interesting thing is that I'm modulating it with a 30-watt Hammond audio transformer, single-ended, that's which means the amplifier is just one tube, not push-pull, and it's 2,500 ohms on the tube modulator side, and 2,500 ohms modulating the two 807s, but on the input side, it's got a tapped 4/8/16 ohm winding, and I'm going to use a solid state what do you call it, a PA amplifier. I've got several. They show up pretty cheap at the Hamfest, ranging from about 30 watts all the way up to 260. And but anyway, that's going to be an interesting project. So I have rambled on as I normally do. It's a shame John's not here. It goes to, I'm trying to decipher my own winding. I think Cliff, WB4NKL in the group, KZ4B, over.
KZ4B, it's WB4NKL. Okay, John, okay, on the Globe Chief Deluxe, or when you said that, I had to think about it. I had so many Deluxes and Scouts and Chiefs. I've got a Globe Scout Deluxe, and it's built better than the Chiefs. It's, you know, like you said, the tuning capacitors, I know what you're talking about, real close spacing, but the Scout, they didn't use those. It's built a lot more robust, and it's got modulation built into it. Like all the cheaper or the smaller Globes, they use Heising modulation. And I just got one over here for Greg I'm working on. I forget what model it is, but it's Heising and uses a 6L6 modulating a 6146. And that thing's amazing on the, when you look at the audio, it goes like 140% of positive modulation. So I'm going to get into my Globe Scout Deluxe, and from what I remember, I don't remember it looking that good, so I'm going to have to get back into that and see if I can make it look a little better. Little project I'm working on right now is the R392 Collins receiver. They all run off of 28 volts, and the audio tube in there pulls about half of the power that you put into it. So I'm building a solid state MOSFET replacement for the 26A7, reduce the power consumption and the heat in that R392. So that's a little side project I got going right at the moment. Good deal on the Wheel of Fortune. I think that was my dad's back in the day, his favorite show. I'd go over to see him, and that was always he was always glued to that. I think he was just looking at Vanna. I think that's what was going on. I'll send it on. Go ahead, Gary. K3OS, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL, K3OS. Fine and everything. Well, the fog is still here. I actually, based on your comments, I'm looking at the lake level here, and it looks about normal to me. So whatever is feeding into here obviously has had enough water coming down through the mountains to keep the lake at the normal level here. Guess we should be fortunate regarding that. To answer Steve's question, I bought some cars from from CarMax, and I've never bought a car from Carvana, but I sold them this car because I got a better deal from them than by a wide margin than from CarMax on the same car. The answer is I did not have to send them pictures. I had to describe it. You know, they give you a checklist when you do it online. I did have to send them pictures of the title, of my driver's license, obviously to prove I had ownership of the car, but I didn't take any, and I described the condition and the options that were installed in it. And they did take pictures when they picked the car up, and they did a diagnostic check by, putting one of those gadgets onto the internal connector and read the diagnostics and found out that there were no problems recorded. So that was it. So my impression is they don't do quite as good a job on prepping the vehicles before they resell them. They're not as fussy taking them in. They assume there are going to be some defects and let them go. CarMax, in most cases, although on one situation it wasn't, on most cases their stuff is pretty clean. And they're real fussy on incoming. I can tell you that from a couple of experiences. Anyway, so that's I'll be glad to talk to anybody about that later on. I don't want to hog the entire net here. So down to Buddy. WB4ARK, K3OS.
K3OS, WB4ARK. Okay, Greg. Well, let's see here. Since Cliff didn't answer the question about lightning, I'll go into that since we've been dealing with a signal maintainer with the Norfolk and Southern railway system. We've learned a lot about how they do things, and learned a lot about lightning protection that they use with their shelters. They have an extensive grounding system with their shelters. The shelter is the enclosure that has the track relays and all the other relays associated, and batteries and battery charger and all the electronics that is used on the track at the grade crossing. I will say that they're in the process of transferring over to solid state systems. This has become the thing of the future, and so a lot of the relays and so forth are being pulled out, and solid state systems are being installed. But their grounding system, every wire that comes into that shelter has a lightning arrestor on it. And they've got lightning arresters that go around the shelter. That shelter's pretty big in some cases, and it has a back panel that opens up, and it has the front doors that open, and it has ground rods driven around the circumference of that, and they're linked together. And all of the lightning arresters are attached to that, but the track is not grounded. The track cannot be grounded because they use alternating current to
at the grade crossing to bring the gates down. And they also use alternating current up the track to for the signals in either directions. So they can't use they can't ground the track itself, but we can, because we're using a DC circuit. We're using but we're using a lightning arrestor between the ground and the track itself. So we can do that and get by with it. It doesn't cause any problems. So that's the way we do it, and that's the way they do it. So if you got any more questions, I can probably answer them. So over to KF4DRN. This is WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, KF4DRN. Well, interesting topics here this morning. And anyway, I didn't know how the Carvana people worked, or, you know, how they done or anything. I've never dealt with any of those people, but I always traded cars with people. You know, I used to trade cars a lot years ago, and I lost the last track I had of it. I owned like 200 cars at least. Well, I know it's way over 200 now, but back in the day, I used to trade, you know, every little bit. But anyway, and Cliff, good on modifying R392. That sounds interesting. I like those little R392s. I used to have one, and it performed real good. They don't take up a lot of space. And space, you know, is kind of a premium on my end here. I may set up a station over in the carport. I might do that. I don't know. I've got the stuff to do it with. And so I might just rig it up over there where I can have two stations. That'd be kind of fun and interesting, I guess. Anyway, got some good band conditions here on this frequency. Seems like, at least it is on my end. I'll pass it on around. KG4 IUQ, KF4DRN. Here it comes, Mark.
This is KG4 IUQ. Well, I am using my receiver, the Drake 2B, and I believe it's saying that Greg is 10 over S9 by the meter here. This thing sounds pretty good. I got it to do CW with, but it sounds pretty good on AM here. I'm using the Knight T150 transmitter, and Charlie is about 30 over S9 here. I think it's interesting that Charlie says the band is quiet as a church. I've heard people say they'll be comparing a church environment to another, and they'll say, in that church you could hear a pin drop. And they think of it as a kind of a negative thing, because they like a church that everybody's loud. That's interesting there. The band is quiet as a church. Dave, LLR. Yes, I am on the T150, and you're sounding good here. You're about 30 over S9. Steve, you're about 35 over. I hear you say about the explosion in Cherville. No injuries. That happened yesterday. And John, KZ4 Bravo, you're peaking at about 40 dB over. the Globe Chief Deluxe project. I hear you have a project with the Globe Chief Deluxe. Sounds interesting. NKL, WB4NKL. You sound good. And I got your call wrong a while ago. Sorry about that. I think I said it was WA4NKL, but it's WB4NKL. And Gary, K3OS, you're about 20 over S9. The Gonset twins sound good. Buddy, ARK, you're about 35 over. And I hear it's overcast there, and it's really interesting, all the things you say about grounding of the track circuits, and it's related to a railroad trying to ground for lightning protection. Very interesting there. It sounds like well, it's definitely related to something that is kind of serious, very serious nature of. I was near a railroad one time. I wasn't very near it, but I was close enough to where I knew that there was somebody carrying a tank of some chemical, and there was an accident, and the whole town was in jeopardy there. You sounded very good, buddy. And K4DRN on the Harvey Wells, it sounds good. I'll turn it over now to W4MEC Charlie. This is KG4IUQ.
Very good, Mark. KG4IUQ and the group W4MEC. All right, let's see who the tuner-upper was. Do we have any additional check-ins that want to join us? Generic person that needs to buy a dummy load, I guess. So W4MEC and the old friends net. Real good. Let's see what we got here. Mr. Bean. A lot of them I saw, he drove a Mini Cooper in that thing, and yeah, he was a pretty humorous fellow there. I think I've seen most of his episodes, and a couple of his movies. So pretty. I don't know how popular he was in England, but he liked them over here. Let's see, building grounds there on Buddy. Well, we used to be nothing but a ground rod at the entrance there, and that was it. But then we went with ground rods at each corner, CAD welded with 500 MCM between them. And if a ground rod was 10 feet and the building was bigger than 20, you had to have a ground rod in the middle there. Ground rods you didn't have to put together. You didn't have to put any closer than their length, because they basically activate a bowl-shaped area underground, and if you put them any closer, it's kind of a waste. The bowls overlap, doesn't do anything for you. But interesting about the lightning arresters for control cables, because ours were split kind, where I remember the first resistor was a 1 ohm 10 watt. And it came into the first junction, and there was a transorb in there, and another resistor, and an MOV, and if it wasn't an MOV, it was, I think it was an MOV. Anyway, there were several components, and I say they were split because the half that was on the equipment side, that half, those components went to chassis ground. But the half coming from the field, just beyond that 1 ohm 10 watt resistor, went to something called the signal ground. And the signal ground was a totally separate ground wire that ran to that ring of 500 MCM and had its own ground rod just for the signal ground. The whole thought was that if you get something induced in one of the other ground rods, if you tied that signal ground to one of those, you just sent that spike back into the system. So they had its own separate ground rod, and that was the only thing attached to it. It was bonded to the ring, and it was one single wire going back to the bus bar It was a parallel set of bus bars that these things screw to, and one signal ground and the other chassis ground. But and they work pretty well, I guess, from the induced voltages, just from a lightning strike up to 5 miles away. The other thing it had was a discharge tube, 600-volt discharge tube, and that's a lightning storm up to 5 miles away. You could, in a dark room, you could see those discharge tubes firing with every lightning strike. It would trigger those things. So they did the job, I guess. But nothing stops a direct strike, because we spent 30 grand on one building and took a direct strike and burnt everything up in it to a crisp. I mean black. I mean, it had about a 5-6 foot equipment rack in there with different things on pull-out shells and all that stuff, and it was black. That's all I can say. The lightning arrestor box, it was black. It must have been quite bright in there when it went off. But it doesn't help a direct strike, that's for sure. But all the transients and the stuff around, that extra stuff does help. So I guess it's kind of difficult to ground protect all that railroad stuff, considering you got miles of steel on the ground to attract something. So anyway, all right, we can do a 73 round here. We got time, and just make sure you flip your timer over. Your what was it? Your official Old Friends Net old buzzer timer should now flip over, and we'll get her done. WA4LLR in the group. W4MEC.
W4MEC in the group. WA4LLR. Yep, everybody flip the egg timer. Anyway, I changed radios just because band conditions seemed good, and I hadn't had this one on in a while. I went to a barefoot T150 and receiving on the R100A, so hopefully you'll hear me. Anyway, yep, talking about Mr. Bean, I like the one where he woke up late for his, I don't remember, his doctor or dentist appointment or something. He just grabs everything and jumps in the car, and I think he got in the back seat and drove with his feet. I got completely dressed, brushed his teeth on the way. Oh Lord, and then one about Christmas and getting his girlfriend a present. She wanted a ring and he got her a picture of one. Oh boy. Anyway, that's he's quite a character. Let's see here. Steve, yeah, I think you've seen most of the Mr. Bean issues too. John, good luck on the Globe Chief. And interesting about Carvana, Gary. And Buddy, I appreciate all the information on the grounding and the tracks. I figured the tracks had to stay above ground potential for signaling and switches and so on and so forth. But I wasn't sure exactly how they were doing that, but thank you. Let's see here. Greg, your Harvey's doing great. You're 20. I don't know if I told you you were 20 over or not, but great, and over 200 car trades. Man, I thought I'd swap cars a few times, but I can't hold a light to you. And Mark, good deal on getting the Drake 2B. I really love my 2A. I don't think I've ever had a 2B, but they're great little radios. Anyway, Charlie, thanks for calling. I'll say 7-3. God bless everybody. Have a great one, and we'll look for you on Thursday, Lord willing. So, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. Very good. I stand corrected on that car. I was watching just yesterday a Mr. Bean episode, and he was indeed driving a Mini Cooper, but he was stuck behind the guy that was driving the three-wheel car, and he kept trying to pass him, and he finally did and ran that thing off the road, and the three-wheel car kind of flipped sideways. And as it's resulting because of its instability. Yeah, that thing had a single wheel in the front. I think somebody, Izetta or somebody, didn't they have a car that had a single wheel in the back and two on the front? And you got in and out of the car through the front of it. I think that was an Izetta, which I think is Italian. But anyway, I was always wondered about train tracks, and I've had this thought about connecting an antenna to the track just to see what you could hear. And I mean, miles and miles of metal. I wonder if it would be good for listening to VLF, the noises the earth makes and all that kind of weird stuff. Just wonder what you'd pick up down there in the low frequency region. Anyway, I guess that's about all we've got this morning, so I'll say my 73s, and I will pass it over to John, KZ4B. See, now I'm going to flip my timer over here. There we go. Got it. KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group KZ4B. Steve, I'll have to confess that I'm if I tried to use the egg timer, it would just throw me off so bad that I might even have a nervous breakdown. So I'm nowhere near it at this moment. But God bless John's suggestion. From time to time, it's quite needed. Let's see. Steve, talking about the diesel fuel explosion. You know, diesel is, unlike gasoline, is very hard to ignite. But if you heat it up, like if there's a fire around a gas tank that has diesel fuel, you've got to have the heat to vaporize the diesel fuel, and then that's quite an explosion. I grew up in high school out in the country, and quite a distance behind my house, several lots, well, it wasn't lots, it was almost farms away, a hog farm house caught on fire, and they had a huge tank full of pig fat, and it actually exploded after heating the tank up. And I tell you what, it's one of the biggest explosions I have ever seen near me. It was muy impresivo. But you gotta heat the heavy hydrocarbons up before they'll do anything. There was a plane crash off the East Coast where they said that somehow the plane was brought down by an exploding fuel tank, and that's very, very, very rare because it has to be heated up, and I don't remember all the details of how it got heated, but that was their conclusion. So thanks for calling the net, Charlie. Enjoyed it, and my opinion, I don't know that it got answered. If you're operating a AL-A11H, which means it's got 572Bs in it, not much plate voltage, but it can handle a lot of current, I think you can easily do 150 watts carrier and maybe even 200. Dave has one, and Dave, he might appreciate your opinion on how hard you can drive an AL-A11H. You might break in before the net shuts down, or if you did, I missed it. So, at this time, it needs to go to Cliff. And good signal as always. WB4NKL and the group KZ4B over and clear. But listen.
KZ4B, WB4NKL. Okay, buddy. Well, John won't like it. You're not using his time, right? I haven't received mine yet, but John says he's got one for me. But I don't think usually don't make too long of transmissions. Dave, I missed I had it written down here, but I overlooked it about the rail, grounding the rail. But Buddy took care of me. He got it all answered. You know, the rail is part of the track circuits, and they use it for detecting train presence, and also for broke rail protection. If the rail breaks, they know it in the signal system. And I know there's a big difference. They don't ground the rail, but there's a big difference sometimes between damp weather and dry weather. The signal guys will have to go out. Back in the old days, they had to go out and adjust the track circuits. They had to compensate for the dry and wet ballast conditions. But yeah, they are going to a lot of solid state, doing away with the house full of relays. But I've been in those signal houses, and it don't have to be just on a dry day. You can hear those arresters clicking and going on with static setting them off. And they also used on the AC power lines, they had these MOVs. You usually think of a MOV as a little disc capacitor looking thing. They had some that's about 4 inches in diameter and about 1 inch thick that they used on the AC power line, and we called them pancake arresters. I can't imagine what those things cost. They were huge and right across the AC line. So they were big on protection and grounding, like Buddy said. And also, they had specs for ground resistance, and they had a tester to test the ground resistance. And if they drove the ground rod in and it didn't meet the specs, they were supposed to add another one and keep driving until they got the specs met on the ground resistance. But that was difficult on a lot of our territory in the mountains because of all the rocks. So I'm sure they didn't make specs at some locations. I'll say 73's enjoyed it, and look for everybody there Thursday. Go ahead, Gary. K3OS, WB4NKL.
Hey, Cliff, thank you. WB4NKL, K3OS. Interesting about the railroad. Thank you very much for that. Had no clue. There's a lot of technology there that was obviously developed really early, to do some of that work. But fascinating stuff that they can certainly do. Nothing more to report from this end, so I'll just pass it around to Buddy. And everybody have a really great week. WB4ARK, K3OS.
K3OS, WB4ARK. Okay, Gary. Well, looks like I turned my gain down too low on my mic. Hold on a second. Well, that's up a little bit higher, so I hope I didn't turn it down too low that you couldn't copy me. Well, yeah, it's interesting to read about the railroad and the beginnings of the signal systems back in the days when it was strictly DC circuits and batteries, and a lot has changed. But John, your question about the aircraft that exploded, that was Flight 800 out of New York, and it fuel tank over the top of the airplane was overheated by the air conditioning systems. This is the final analysis. Was heated up, and because they had some delays in getting the plane off the ground. and there was some wiring through that fuel tank that, and it wasn't full, completely full, and the wiring shorted out, which they had some issues with, and caused the explosion. Well, anyhow, thanks for calling the net, Charlie, and everybody have a great rest of this week. This is over to KF4DRN. This is WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, KF4DRN. Interesting on railroad tracks and so forth. This brings back when I lived in Morristown. I wound up getting some railroad batteries from a guy. He had a lot of railroad equipment, relays and so forth, in an old store building. Later on, that building burned down. I don't know what. Batteries, but I played around with those years ago, and then had a it was a transformer, but it had the electromagnetism. It had like
Well, I guess third time was a charm on that. Let me see. And Greg, if you're in receive, KF4DRN, you dropped out and came back 3 times, but on that third time, it went away for good, so she got something going south there. Close her out there, Mark, KG4IUQ, W4MEC.
Well, this is KG4IUQ. It's been a good net. I just flipped over my timer. I don't really understand how to use this. Everybody's in trouble because I'm going to make an old buzzard transmission here, it looks like. But have a good one. Have a good day. 73, I'll turn it over to Charlie, W4MEC, KG4IUQ.
Okay, Mark, very good. Greg, you got it sorted out.
I don't know here if I'm showing power out, but say my transmission cut out on me. Over.
Yeah, it did it 3 times, and on the third one you didn't come back, and it was a total loss of carrier. I didn't get any heterodyne from you.
Okay, well, I'm showing power out right now, so I don't know. I'll have to check this out and see.
You got up to the 73 and all we got was set. So I'd look at something along the antenna circuit there, because apparently you're seeing it transmitting, but it ain't making it to the antenna. So thanks everybody for checking in today, and we'll look for you later down the log, and especially Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Y'all have a good rest of the day here. It's W4MEC, shutting down the old Friends Net. Bye-bye.